Alright guys, Scrappy again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The drama around OpTic Texas continues in terms of the playstyles of their respective players. It is no secret that Dashy, after getting dropped from the team a couple of years ago, has changed his role quite dramatically since returning to the outfit. Now a much slower player, getting the hill time, playing more conservative at times, and generally, as far as JP Krez, the coach of the team, tends to believe, playing in a more winning manner. ACHES though disagrees. He says, look, where are the wins at the end of the day? And maybe Dashy's playstyle being changed in this manner actually isn't helping, and something else needs to give if OpTic want to take the next step to the very top of the podium. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. This I thought was pretty crazy, by the way. Okay, the rally drivers are mad, by the way. Even madder than rally drivers might be the fans who just stand by the side of the road here, to be honest. But this guy says, endless. We have a seat available for the Sandblast Rally in South Carolina this year if you want to try your hand. And Kremp's like, hey, I'm so down, let's take this to the DMs. So I think that the Kremp is soon heading out to one of the first races of the year, possibly, because he's racing in that Porsche North American Championship Cup or whatever it is. He's got like 7 races this year. I think he's doing the first one in maybe a couple of weeks. So that's pretty exciting stuff. But apparently Kremp to rally driving might also be an option. So stay tuned for that. Wanted to say fair play to Zinx as well. A pretty, obviously a long career on the challenger side, really. Just another player who's decided to step away and move on from the scene, which is pretty sad, We've seen the likes of Doug, players that have been around a long time, and yeah, okay, Zinx didn't really make it on the level that he wanted to, but he won a lot in challenges over the last several years, and it's always kind of sad to see players that, didn't get their opportunity in deciding that, it's time to move on and do some other things. I did want to quickly mention, though, the situation with ranked players it presently stands. Ranked as we've had for the last couple of games, yes, Treyarch has designed it, and I don't know if they're being told to design it in certain ways, and I'm sure that they are, maybe, because the level of progression that you have in ranked play kind of wants to make you keep playing it in some ways, but the World War II ranked system was just so good because it had a straight up ELO rating. Like, there was no messing around. This is a Ryan Bacardi screenshot. It was, of course, an absolute legend of the ranked play scene back then, and we see Scump, Crimsix, Slasher, Parasite, Attach. I don't actually know who this is, to be fair, on the other side of things. Let me know in the comments below if you do know. And then Formal, and these were the ranks that they had. If you got to like 2,000, you were doing pretty well. The pros were like 26, 27, around about the 3,000 number. And that's how it worked. Pure ELO rating. You won, you got ELO, you lost ELO. And it wasn't a perfect system, but I thought this was great compared to what we've had for the last couple of years. Ranked play works today, sure. And back then, to be fair, this was on console as well, so cheaters weren't really an issue. But it doesn't work to the same extent. Sure, there's top 250 and everything like that, and that's okay in the way that it works with Crimson and Iridescent or whatever they're called as you kind of climb up the ranks. But I will say I do miss the World War II system, especially the thing that I miss most actually is the game battles integration in World War II and Infinite Warfare the year before. That was spectacular, but of course, game battles is now dead, so rest in peace, I suppose. Let's talk about what the flank had to say, though, because there's been lots of debate lately, especially on this team OpTic Texas, as there always is, but I think for good reason as it stands. So this is their post-Major 1 tier list. They have made maybe a couple of adjustments based on roster changes. Based on the change we saw earlier today with Surge, there's questions about this team, there's questions about Thieves, there's questions about Boston, and of course Miami Heretics, who are coming up here as the Florida Mutineers. They're also making a change. And I don't know why Vegas, at least as a recording, are not seeming to make a change, but I think there are some options out there they should be considering as well. But that's kind of how it stands. This is how the flank put it together. But I do think this is a reasonable way to analyze it, just because there are clearly levels between the S tier team, the A tier team, and then the B tier team that they have with Ultra, FaZe, and OpTic respectively. And that is the big question really for those guys going forward. Just a couple of lineman casts to share as well. This is the Los Angeles Grillers, and well, maybe I'm somewhat surprised at the discrepancy between the ARs. Fame has been super up and down, I'm not gonna lie. It's actually crazy how, it's funny how his numbers are a 1, but in any specific series, it can be a 1.3 or a 0.7, right? Like, it really is just somewhere in between. Diamond Connor's been their best player, though, I think by a margin. He's been super impressive so far, and I guess there hasn't really been that much talk on whether this team needs to change in some way, because Diamond Con's been great. Fame has a lot of takeover power, and I don't think getting rid of him makes much sense. Estriel's been pretty good for a rookie, but, hasn't been great. But Assault has been probably their worst player, and the Lion Man card reflects that. KD might not tell the whole story, but you know, kills per 10, not particularly impactful. Damage per 10 is basically nowhere. Like, look at the damage per 10 stats compared to damage per 10 here for DiamondCon. And his search and destroy has been the worst on the team. Lowest kills per rounds, lowest, well, actually not technically the lowest damage per round. That actually goes terrestrial, but still, 0.74 in search, not exactly great. And the search and destroy has been their weakness, really. They're 4 in 10 in search, which is kind of fascinating because usually a team like this that is, you know, renowned for their teamwork, not maybe the most talents, but they've got the teamwork. Typically, you'd expect that team to struggle more in the respawns than the search and destroy. And the search and destroy can be where they really focus to get one up on, you know, try and win a game 5 against a top team, that type of stuff. But this is what's cost them really this season, is that their hard one of their control has been very commendable against basically everyone they've played against. But 4 in 10 in search means even if they go game 5, they probably lose, and that's cost them a lot this tournament. They got top 6 though in the end, which was pretty impressive, but just because they got top 6 doesn't mean they were performing at a top 6 level. Not necessarily. You know, they had Rocker to play to get top 4, which would have been unbelievably remarkable, because, you know, they took down Thieves, and then they made a pretty decent run the tournament. But there was some talk, despite the fact that Assault is now very well loved in the community with the whole hardwarmer stuff, that maybe Assault is at least worthy of consideration to make a change in that specific spot. But then again, the team's kind of, I wouldn't say it's exactly a friendship team because clearly they've got some skill here, but I guess it was built in some respects because these guys get along well. So I'm sure they're not particularly, you know, keen to make a change, but if they really do want to get to the next level, I think they might have to think about it as it presently stands because, you know, DiamondCon's been their better AR. I do actually really rate Assault, but he just hasn't been so good so far this specific season. Let's talk though about Dashy and the OpTic situation, because there's always questions about this. There's questions about Dashy's playstyle every year, and there's certainly questions when they don't win events. Like last year, they got those couple of second places. Now they've got third, first event of the season, and that's respectable, right, in some ways, but it's not a victory at the end of the day, and however long Dashy goes without an event victory, questions will always be raised. This is what ACHES said, especially about Dashy's playstyle, that he needs to play for kills slightly more than he previously did. And I think what ACHES is looking at, and I think for good reason, is what Toronto Ultra do. Toronto this past weekend plays, I've said it before, I'll say it again right about now, the best COD I've ever seen at this time of the season. Their AR duo, Scrappy and Insight, I think is the best in the league, at least the most impactful in the league, by quite some margin. CleanX and Envoy do a phenomenal job as well. CleanX is like the best at playing his role in the league right now. He knows when to slow down, knows when to speed up, super impactful player, and Envoy is basically like the do-it-all partner to CleanX, who can hit a flank, he can get kills, he can slay. It's just ideal what Toronto have going on. Their chemistry, their teamwork, like everything is pretty much perfect in that Toronto camp as it stands. And we saw what that looks like this past weekend when they play at their level. Not to say that you could just build a team to copy Toronto and hope that's going to work, but I think it's worth analysing what Toronto have and thinking about whether their playstyle actually makes sense for you guys as well. So you look at that Scrap Insight AR duo. It's the most impactful in the league by some margin. Like, it's better than Cellium Drazah. It's better than Dashy Kenny, but Dashy and Kenny I think can get close. It's better than Sib Skyz. Scrappy slays super hard, plays at a very high pace. Insight plays slower, gets some objective time, and is an incredibly good search and destroy player, especially in the clutch, and has been actually really good at the respawns this year as well. That's the combo that you might want. So the question is really for the OpTic guys, and this is what ACHES has said, that Dashy just needs to play in the scrap role, and Kenny can kind of be more of the insight in some ways. Because right now, Dashy's kind of playing more like insight, Kenny's playing more like Scrappy, you could argue, and is that the best use of Dashy's talent? There's a question on that. The belief has been from OpTic that the way that Dashy has adapted his playstyle has helped the team improve, and he plays in a more winning way than he did before. His kills are more impactful, kill by kill, than they used to be a couple of years ago. And that is quite possibly very true. But is that the best way to construct the team? That's the question that ACHES has.
Dude, people are... Why is Ant getting so much shit? Ant only gets so much shit because he makes, like, takes the risk that he needs to. You know what I'm saying? Like,
he just doesn't have the KD.
Yeah.
To justify, like, when he
I mean, like I said before, there are
that he makes plays.
Yeah, there are some times where, like, he could be more conservative, but shit, like, he just sets everyone up, or a lot of people up better.
I'm sure you've seen the... I've been the Bruce for the last, like, couple of days over all that shit that Pat was saying.
I didn't hear what Pat was saying. What was he saying?
He's just saying that Brandon needs to go back to Killhorn.
Oh, that's bullshit. Dude, Brandon, dude, something...
He's been playing so well.
He realized, what was it, middle of last year or whenever he came back to the team, like, he realized what you need to do and like what to do to win. And it was like,
I mean, it was very evident.
It was
probably,
very
like,
evident.
After Dan joined, probably it was like
Yeah.
I noticed it the most.
you could see like his play style change to be conducive to like what we needed to do to win.
You know, I think I heard a clip from JP saying they wanted him to play this way so they could to win. That was the intent. But what if they won? Clearly, I'm not seeing any winning results. In my opinion, I just think, you know, for Dashy to take a back seat and play this conservative, like, I'm going to play for the win, do it all mentality. He's too talented, in my opinion, to do that. I think this squad would be better served with someone else taking on that role. I wouldn't want
Like
Dashy, the guy I trust the most to perform 99% of the time, to take that reserved approach and play for the win when you have people like Shotzzy who go out there and they're super inconsistent, get world starred, you know, other players as well. So for me, I just think Dashy being put in that position is a disservice to his talent. And he's the last one on the squad I would want taking that reserved approach to play for the win when the squad clearly isn't producing wins.
So I definitely agree with the analysis here from, you know, the OpTic guys and from JP that often Dashy gets criticized for no real good reason. And I don't think that ACHES' criticism is necessarily leveled too much at Dashy. Once again, the player that he's really criticizing here is Shotzzy, right? And he went on to describe that in, you know, later on in the flank, but I just shared the clip of when he was talking about the response to JP, because JP says, look, Dashy's playing in a more winning way. Which I think is probably true, but is it the most winning way? That's always, I guess, the question, because, you know, it's easy to criticize JP here, as ACHES does, because JP says, well, you know, he's helping us win. And it's like, well, okay, what have you won? And to be honest, if you look at the results, they have been better, right? I mean, these are the results, just for example, since Dashy returned to the team. Start of Vanguard, they won. And then since then, it was like, you know, top 6, top 4 for the rest of that season. Last season, for example, Dashy, of course, is out. Then he's back in. Seconds. But, you know, still top 12, top 6. And then, you know, this year it hasn't appeared on here yet. But this year, of course, is a top 3 so far. So they are winning more series, I think, now. And they are probably a more competitive team than they were before. But it's not quite translating against the best of the best when they play them in the very important series, I guess, is the argument that could be made. So I definitely think that JP's right to respond to, you know, to defend Dashy in this sense, because, you know, Dashy does often get criticized when it might not be deserved. And I don't think this is exactly Dashy's fault, but there is an argument that ACHES says that maybe Shotzzy should be the one slowing down, playing a bit more conservative, so that Dashy doesn't have to do that so much. In the same way that, you know, Scrappy can feel free to basically do whatever he wants on the map and play super aggressive because, you know, he has insane gun skill, but also insights picking up everything that he isn't, which maybe Kenny could do. And also he doesn't have to worry about throwing away his life sometimes because he knows that CleanX isn't going to do that to the same extent that Shotzzy would. And even as JP says here, like, Shotzzy could be playing more conservative. It's always a battle, though, with Shotzzy because you don't want to stop him playing in that way, because if you do, then you lose some of his, you know, what makes him so good, right? But I do feel like there is a question to be had on whether Shotzzy's playstyle is optimal right now, and I think that it's certainly not optimal, but you know, how much can it be improved, how much do they try and adapt it, that really is a matter for debate. Because if Shotzzy was to throw his life away slightly less often during a series, Dashy could probably then play slightly more aggressively, pick up a few more kills, use his insane gun skill to, you know, better effectiveness, and maybe mold a little bit more. So you never want to mold, I don't think, your team off another team, but it's worth looking at the way Toronto play and thinking about how OpTic could potentially learn from that, because they basically played perfect COD that last weekend. And when you've got different players, you're going to have to do different things naturally, but it's at least, I think, worth thinking about as to why OpTic, you know, have kind of fallen short. Now then again, mainly it's the search and destroy. This is the point that Octane was making, that, you know, say all you want about Dashy and Shotzzy's playstyles, but their respawn was pretty damn good. It's the search and destroy that was problematic, which is true, but I think it does carry over in some sense as well. Shotzzy throwing his life away sometimes, maybe Dashy not taking many chals as he might do to try and open up the round, or whatever you want to say. I think there's, you know, the playstyles carry over to some respects. But of course, whatever you think on this debate, ACHES, well, we know that he likes to have a dig at Shotzzy, we know that he likes to have a dig at OpTic, and, well, for good reason, because he has still, for now, eliminated OpTic the most out of any player from LAN tournaments. Octane's retired, Attach can still potentially get there, but Envoy, despite being on OpTic for some time, is actually actually already up here at 7. So is Drazah. So there are a few potential candidates. Of course, Kenny now he's on OpTic, so that's not going to be happening anytime soon. But very much interested to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.